Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the Mexican standoff developing in the Tory party as the movers and shakers try to work out their best position for deciding the direction of the party, beginning with how they organise the replacement for Rishi Sunak. But not only are they going to find the same problems they had in 1997, they're actually in a much worse position for a number of reasons. But first, I just want to add in a couple of things. So my first video today was about how the government, our new government, are doing something which I think is sensible, not just sensible, actually good. It's an outlook I haven't really had for a great many years, and I don't think has really existed since I've been doing this channel. But also, for the second video, I'm talking about how the Conservatives are going to fail to learn lessons. You know, there are a couple of themes which I think are going to be playing out on the channel, mixed in with the usual non-party related political news for some time to come. Government doing government things, Tories doing Tory things. But I must just point out, before I get started, I couldn't help but mention this, like there's been a few memes, obviously get memes with any major political event, and one of my favourites emerged. So for the background for this, one of the things the Tories tried to make something of is Keir Starmer going, you know, I want a bit of family time of a Friday evening. And they go, oh, he's going to clock off early every night. He's going to clock off at 6 p.m. We're going to have Angela Rayner in charge. Oh, don't declare war after 6 p.m. We've got no prime minister. And it's like, you know, no, he said there's emergencies, but in the normal run of events, he just wants like 6 p.m. Friday evening for his family, right? So one of the things that came out yesterday, the Telegraph going, oh, cancel the Rwanda plan. It's all dead. Oh, no. And someone pointed out, he's cancelled the Rwanda plan. And he did it after 6 p.m. on a Friday. But anyway, Conservative Party. There are multiple choices facing them. Their first job, and they all agree on this, from the One Nation Tories to the far reaches of the swivel-eyed lunabis, is that they need to understand where they went wrong before they can put things right. Where they will disagree is on where they went wrong and what they need to do to put it right. It should be obvious, of course, where they went wrong. They made every aspect of most people's lives worse. I mean, really, that's, for a government, that's just not good. They did absolutely nothing to fix any of them. For the past year, they've run a strategy of salting the earth in order to load up problems in the country to trip this future Labour government up. You know, for the last year, they've literally had a strategy of getting ready for a Labour government. Of course, they lost. Schools collapsed, no plan to rebuild them or stop others collapsing. Same with hospitals and other public buildings as well. They continue to block low carbon energy production, even though we not only need to basically double the capacity on the national grid, but need to address net zero as well. Nothing being done to deal with the ever increasing and dangerous levels of pollution in our waterways, which upsets their core voters. Lots of ideas coming out about how the Tories solve their housing problem, because they know they've got a housing problem. Their issue is they don't want to build near concentrations of NIMBY Conservative voters because, no, we don't want new houses near our houses, it bring the prices down. But they also know they need to build somewhere because their core vote comes from homeowners. So you need homes for that. And they had ideas. It's not like they had no ideas. Michael Gove was making suggestions. Some of them would work. But they didn't do anything. They didn't action any of them. I mean, I could go on for hours about all the things they knew that were causing them problems. Not just things that I think are problems, that they knew were problems, but they did nothing about. Because there's a fundamental problem that the Tories give themselves unnecessarily. And it is they are so committed to this notion of the state shouldn't interfere that they just consider all problems to be for someone else to deal with. The market will provide and all that. And they never change their mind, no matter the facts. Like, I could understand a person with a right-wing outlook where you believed that the market would provide most things, like, so you give the market a chance. You go, okay, let's see if the market provides. And then when it doesn't, you go, okay, the market's not providing, so the government is the backup. I could sort of understand that line of thinking, but they don't even do that. That in a nutshell is their problem. But will they see this? Not on your life. That being said, there are still different perspectives in the Tory party. I saw a former Tory minister, Eric Pickles, giving his view of the election, including his thoughts on Reform UK. Now, I don't agree with every of the points he made, but what he did do is he listed 10 points which were thought out and based on what he'd seen from the election results. And Pickles was one of the Tories who was part of the party when they were rebuilding themselves after 1997. He became an MP for the first time in 1992, so he wasn't really part of their downfall because he'd been a very junior backbencher to begin with. But he was part of their revival. Now, you would think the Conservatives would be listening to guys like this, wouldn't you? But they won't. No, they will listen to the people who were actually responsible for their downfall this time. Boris Johnson, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, Priti Patel, Kemi Badenoch, Liz Truss. In fact, there's only one person responsible for their downfall they won't be listening to. That would be Rishi Sunak, for obvious reasons. Maybe Jeremy Hunt, which is a good thing for them. They absolutely should not be listening to Rishi Sunak. He was an idiot. Had no idea. But standing back, it does seem weird. You've got these two groups of people who have views. The Tories who revived their party after 1997 and eventually made them electable again, and so will have gone through a learning process themselves. And then the Tories who were in charge in the lead up to their worst ever result, and yet Tory members will be listening to that second group. So I don't think I'm going out on a limb if I say I expect Tory party members to behave in the usual way. For the new leader, they're going to be presented with a choice of two candidates unless they fundamentally change the way the leadership contest is run, which I suspect they won't. So they'll be presented with two candidates and they will vote for the craziest one. So if the thinking Conservatives are going to avoid the worst option, they're going to have to organise within the parliamentary party. This is why the least crazy of them, such as David Cameron, are now arguing for a longer process to choose the next leader. In fact, they want it to go beyond the conference season in like October. So they want to take a long run up at this. And that is because the most unsuitable candidates have been openly campaigning for the leadership for months. It hasn't mattered to them that they're giving this perception of infighting and chaos within the Tory party. They've only been focused on their own ambition. The ones who actually wanted to help their party, and some of those were on the far right as well, it has to be pointed out, they were focusing on getting the best outcome in the election. Okay, they didn't do very well, but that's because so few of the Tory MPs of the previous parliament knew how to win elections. Almost all of them were elected since 2010 when it was relatively easy for them. They were not there for that rebuilding. But they were at least prioritising the election, not their own ambitions. Those MPs are now behind the curve compared to Badenoch, Braverman, Jenrick, who've been openly campaigning. So of course they want more time. They will want more time for a sober reflection on the election, to move away from the Daily Telegraph narrative, and they will want more time to work out which vaguely sane MPs might stand a chance of winning support. Because remember, one huge problem the Tories have as a result of their almost complete collapse, with the current numbers of Tory MPs, it would take only 19 of them to trigger a leadership confidence vote. So they're going to have to look to themselves, have we got 19 nutters left in this party? Because if we have, we're in trouble. It's not enough to pick a new leader. If they want a leader who has the confidence to lead, they need someone who will at least only piss off a maximum of 18 of their colleagues with their decisions. This is one of the prices they've paid for not simply losing, but losing disastrously. I mean, imagine if they'd have been beaten down to something like 70 or 80. Leaders always talk about uniting the party, of course, and they mean it. They do. Nobody wants to lead a disunited party. It's a hassle. But can anyone do it? Quite difficult. The potential review of this election is so polarised. That is the problem. You know, you could have slightly different views, slightly different takes, but they're so completely different. There are some Tories who believe that the reason they lost is because they tacked too far to the right. They tried to become a sort of weaker version of Nigel Farage, and therefore moved further away from moderate voters grouped around the centre who just wanted them to look at the cost of living, the NHS, deal with pollution in rivers, you know, leaving those voters for Labour and the Lib Dems and also even the Green Party to pick up. But there are other Tories who think this concept is so childish and naive. Their problem was clearly that they didn't tack hard enough to the right. They think they need to combine the Reform UK vote with the Tory vote, even though polling says, no, that's impossible. You know, the latest poll, and this is consistent with all the others, showed that 36% of Reform UK voters would have voted Conservative if Reform UK weren't an option. Just 36%. The rest of them would have voted for someone else or no one. You know, But we know that the established view of the wider Conservative Party is the problem was Sunak was too moderate. He's Marxist, according to some. You know, he just wasn't crazy enough. So those who think this is what their problems absolutely want more time in order to change that narrative. The question is, will they succeed? The answer will lie in who forms the 1922 committee. So the leadership contest, there are sort of rules set down, but in terms of the timings of all the stages, that will be decided by the 1922 committee executive, which doesn't exist at the moment. Even the former chair, Sir Graham Brady, has left Parliament now. He said he's going to help advise, but he's not going to be part of it. So Tory MPs will have to appoint the executives to that group, and they will decide the precise timing of the leadership contest. They may also change a few features of it as well. That might tell us something about the balance of power and organisation within the Tory parliamentary party. Because if they elect an executive who says, right, we need this election process done quickly, let's get it done over summer, so the new leader's in place before Parliament comes back in September, then it could be a sign that the far right are going to be in the ascendancy because they're already in the winning position on the narrative. However, there's another group who want to take their time. As I say, they want the election to take place after the conference even. So if the new 1922 executive sets out a timetable, which means the conference happens at least before the members make their decision. So they might have whittled them down themselves. Tory MPs may decide to have a period of reflection over summer. Then, you know, in September, that's when you do the stages to whittle it down to 2 candidates. Then you have your conference. Then the ballots go out to the members once the Tory members have listened to various views at the conference. Then, you know, that could be an indicator that more sane voices won enough seats to take control because that's what they want to happen. But whoever manages to just sneak the balance of power, I really do think that I'm not sure there's going to be truces between the various groups for a while. I think as long as they believe that it is possible to chart a course to come straight back to power at the next election, the different factions will have a winner-takes-all attitude to leading their party. That is fraught. I would be absolutely amazed if the replacement for Sunak even makes it to the next election. Regardless, I mean, even if it's someone vaguely sane, just because 19 MPs to trigger a confidence vote, and it only takes, therefore, 61 MPs to say, no, we don't have confidence in you. And with such a fractured party, it's one thing for a party to have different factions who take different views as to what's the best thing to do. They can coexist as long as they want to go in roughly the right direction, or the same direction at least. But the Tories currently want to pull in opposite directions. It may actually be that there could be an argument for more sensible Tories to just let Badenoch, Braverman or Jenrick fight it out, or Patel, even Priti Patel, you know, arguably could emerge from all this. Give them a couple of years to make a complete arse of it, and then bin them and hope the party wakes up a bit. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.